Because of the program, we take your questions. First, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Good to see you, BKO.
Good evening, Ibrahim. Good evening to our esteemed viewers.
Right. So let's get right into the matter. The tax reform bills proposed by President Tinubu have sparked intense debate. Northern Leaders Forum has expressed strong opposition, citing fears of economic strain on the region. Can you share your perspective on why these bills have become so polarizing within the Northern leadership circles?
When you look at the tax reform bill, it's there are so many good initiatives built into it. The tax reform bill seeks to, for example, banish the matter of double taxation. It has made provision for how to address double taxation. It has also come up with initiatives that will help stimulate production in our country. For example, for agri-products, there are exemptions already stipulated to ensure that you do not have to pay VAT on some services provided from home-sourced production. It also talks about exemptions for some productions, some let me say mechanical feats achieved in our country. It seeks to stimulate technical progress in the area of stimulate technical development by ensuring that, okay, people are not taxed for those services rendered here, for inventions that are made here. So it is not as if the tax reform bill simply seeks to tax Nigerians, simply seeks to make life difficult for people, getting people to pay more tax. No, the whole idea is to improve collection of taxation and not simply increasing the number of taxes that our people are going to be paying. It seeks to make collection more efficient, and it seeks to encourage production within our country by giving tax exemptions to people who are into agri-production, for example. But there are so many of those exemptions that that clearly people say we are a consuming nation, we do not produce. But the tax reform bill seeks to stimulate production in many ways by stipulating exemptions for some service production, even production in in the oil sector. Yes, there is tax exemption, especially for people working in the oil sector, especially if their services are not meant for export. Things that they produce are not meant for export. So the idea is let us stimulate production. Let us encourage people to produce locally. I see that the tax reform bill has stipulated a lot of these exemptions to try and stimulate greater production in our country, especially the area of agriculture. But for the north, it is uh, the decision to use the derivation formula that made northern governors and northern leaders to be oh, this is actually targeted at the north. You know that before now, people have been saying, why should VAT receipts, why should VAT accruals from alcohol consumption? When you go to Kano, the Hisba is against alcohol production because the Sharia is implemented in Kano on a great scale. Now, Hisba destroys beer bottles. They will stop trucks bringing in alcohol into the state and destroy the content in those bottles. They will destroy thousands and thousands of bottles of alcohol. Now, people have been arguing that why should accruals from VAT accruals from alcohol consumption go to states in the north where alcohol is frowned at. So that had always been that argument has always been there that they should not benefit from it. Don't also forget that in 2021, the Rivers State government took the FRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service, to court, seeking that VAT VAT in Rivers State should be collected by it, and that it should actually administer the value-added tax within its territory. Governor Nyesom Wike got judgment at that time at the lower court, but FRS successfully appealed that judgment, and we are back to status quo ante. If that judgment had been upheld by the Superior Court, it means that state governments will have been empowered to collect VAT in their states and use VAT in their states the way VAT collected in their states the way they want. Now, that has not happened, but the attempt or the proposition in this bill to use derivation formula to distribute VAT collected across Nigeria is angry about is what the governors do not want to see. Because what it then means is that some of the money that used to come to the northern states based on the current sharing formula, and population is one of the formulas used in distributing VAT collected across our country. Now, if you use the derivation formula, it means that a lot of these states will end up with very little, because in Nigeria, VAT is remitted based on what is called the head office syndrome. All of the big companies in our country, like NBC, like Nigerian Breweries Limited, Shell, Ajib, Mobil, Chevron, even Chicken Republic, their head offices are in Lagos. So, and they remit their taxes, their VAT collection nationwide is remitted to Lagos, where the head office is. So what I'm saying is, The northern governors are arguing, and let me see if I can get one of their quotes. What they are saying is, we oppose any bill that can jeopardize the well-being of our people. The proposed amendment to the distribution of VAT, turning it to the derivation model, is what our people oppose, because according to them, the proposed plan amendment calls on, let me see, okay, because companies remit VAT using location of their headquarters and tax office, and not where the services and goods are consumed. So that is what they are saying, that they remit VAT using location of their head office and not necessarily where those services and goods are consumed. So the forum, the Northern Governors Forum, unanimously rejected the proposed tax amendment and called on members of the National Assembly to oppose such a bill that can jeopardize the well-being of the people. This shows clearly that they are going to talk to their National Assembly matters members. Clearly, the battle has gone to the floor of the National Assembly, especially as it was advised by the uh, National Economic Council. The president refused to withdraw the bill. The president said those who have misgivings against the bill can go to the National Assembly to express those misgivings, but that it would not withdraw the bill entirely. So the proposed derivation principle to be used in the distribution of VAT accruals between the federal government and the subnationals is the bone of contention. They are not even looking at other positive stipulations in the bill. As long as the derivation model is going to be used, they know that a lot of the big companies in our country are located in southern Nigeria. The oil companies, for example, that they pay VAT heavily, those oil companies, none of them is located in the north. The big companies into services, they also have their head office in Lagos. So Lagos, for example, is going to benefit tremendously if that derivation principle will be used, because the headquarters of most big companies in our country are in Lagos. So they also see this as an attempt to reach Lagos at the expense of other parts of our country. So this is the position of North, and they're already giving the feeling that Mr. President is kind of against the North. That is what makes the matter all the more perplexing.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. I love the fact that you help us understand, the
Feeling
issue
that
and what
Mr.
exactly.
President,
Yeah, Mikhail. So the
yeah,
other question I want to ask is, if you look at Senator Ali Ndume, he has called the bills dead on arrival, and he has faced backlash from groups like the Northern Redemption Coalition. In what ways do you think that his stance reflects or contradicts larger sentiments in the North? Is he genuinely advocating for his constituents' needs or engaging in political positioning?
the point that he's making is that Mr. President didn't consult widely before pushing the bill to the National Assembly, and because of that, the bill may not fly. It may be rejected. That's why I say it's dead on arrival. Ali Ndume does not. In fact, I don't think Ali Ndume actually read the content of the bill, that they not support the bill that will make I also, if the states of the north will lose money from value added tax, will lose money significantly from value added tax, we may be tempted to say Aliu Ndume is right, that it may jeopardize the welfare of the people of northern Nigeria. That's the way it's thinking. But it's not as if this is going to be imposing fresh taxation on our people. It's just the efficiency of collection that the bill is much more concerned about, not coming up with new taxes to be imposed on our people in this difficult time. I think that people like Ndume suspect that this could that fresh tax burden on our people at this time is not advisable. I think that is the way that he is thinking. But the tax reform bill is much more than that. But generally,
Yes.
when you listen to what the northern leaders are saying, and a lot of people belonging to northern groups, what they are saying is that they feel let down that the president come up with this kind of proposal, despite the fact that they not uh, gave him so much support. And the governor of Nasarawa State also said, look, we put the president in power, so we are not opposed to him. We, we have nothing against him. But this tax bill is against the interests of our people. So if you are earning 10 naira daily as a state, I'm just using that as an illustration, and the derivation principle comes into play, it means you could be earning 2 naira where you used to earn 10 naira. This is
Yeah.
the feeling that they not believe that it is already disadvantaged in terms of where the headquarters of big companies are. So, and
Yeah.
to that extent, they are not going to earn a lot from VAT remittances.
Yeah.
If
But Bikio,
if the derivation principle is allowed to happen in the distribution of VAT revenue.
yeah, but then BK, I don't know how this represents the northern sentiments, because if you look at the NRC, the Northern Redemption Committee, they criticize the domain, stating that it actually fails to represent the true interest of the North, and it's promoting a negative image of entitlement and resistance to taxation in their words. So the question is, how significant is this accusation, and what implication does this have for political unity and leadership credibility in that region?
You see, when you bear in mind that it is people to see him as a champion for the masses and all that, let's not limit this to Aliu Ndume. Northern governors, a lot of them very good friends of the president, they rose in a wave to say, we reject this. And traditional rulers from northern Nigeria, they also met with the government. It's because of one item in the tax bill. The tax bill is a voluminous document, and there are many very positive signs, many positive propositions in that tax bill. The president wants us to have progressive taxation in our country. So people should be taxed based on the revenue that they earn, based on the income that they earn. You find that in our country, the poor people, relative to their income, they appear to pay more tax than the billionaires, than people who have so much money. Because a lot of them have even found a way to refuse to pay tax, by bribing tax officials and all that. So the point that I'm making really is, this is not an Ndume affair. northern leaders, traditional rulers, they are opposed to this because the derivation formula will ensure that what accrues to them from tax and from VAT revenue, what accrues to them from VAT will definitely shrink significantly if the derivation principle is to be used. And the argument is, look, Lagos will earn a lot more than other people. Already, about 50%, if not more, of tax revenue of Nigeria actually comes from Lagos because of what I talked about earlier. VAT is remitted using the head office syndrome. So consumption across the country, companies, because tax is a consumption, it's a consumption tax. It's a tax on consumption and services rendered. So all of this coming from where a company has branches across the 36 states of our country. All where a company has branches across the 36 states of our country and FCT, their entire tax, their entire VAT revenue, their entire VAT accruals to value-added tax is paid to Lagos. So they believe that this will favor other states of Nigeria. A number of the southern governors are also opposed to this derivation principle that the bill seeks to use in distributing VAT revenue. But the southern governors have not been loud, and southern leaders have not come together the way northern leaders, traditional rulers, opinion holders, and governors of the north have come together to say, no, we oppose this. This is targeted at us. This is an attempt to jeopardize our interests, to make life difficult for us in northern Nigeria. Those powerful people in southern Nigeria have not come together to do that. But some states too in southern Nigeria are opposed to this model. So I truly feel that that derivation principle would make it difficult for this tax bill to sail through. I agree that the president doesn't have to withdraw the entire tax bill because there are some very good and laudable initiatives in that bill. It will take us more than 2-3 episodes of this program to analyze some of the positive exemptions that the tax bill has created. But the derivation bill is a contentious issue, and because of that derivation, the derivation formula that they want to use to distribute VAT revenue is a very contentious matter. And for this, it will be a tug of war on the floor of the National Assembly, floor of the Senate, between the federal government and senators, especially from northern Nigeria. And I won't be surprised if they also get tremendous support from southern Nigeria to ensure that the bill does not sail through along with the derivation principle that it seeks to use to distribute receipts by way of value-added tax. So the next few days will be tough.
Right,
and
looks like we're having
see a big war. I see a big war breaking out on the floor of the
looks like we're
National Assembly
having
because
a bit of a connectivity issue with
hello, I can see you
looks
now.
like
What's it?
seems to be funny. Yeah, I can hear you, BK. So let me take right. Yeah, it's just the next one, acting funny. Even some of our Some of our viewers are also complaining about network on their own side, but it's fine. So let me confirm again that you can hear me, BQ.
I can hear you clearly. I don't have any issue here.
Great. So let me take right. Let me take some comments. Promise Emmanuel says, "Good evening, BKO himself. I always watch this program no matter what." TJ Associate says, "Thank you so much, Promise." TJ Associate says, "BKO, what is in the law that northern leaders are against, in your opinion?" I think he had already said that. Adiri Henry said the law of diminishing returns should apply in the new tax reform bill. There should also be collective assessment of goods and services on all states before the application of the new tax reform. Adiri Henry also added that there should also be collect. Okay, I think I've read that. Yeah, Kai Lori says this perception is wrong. 80% VAT is made from imports and multinationals, which is shared equally among the states. The other 20% is derived from consumption and derivation, hence no state is worsened. And then Yinka Ilori also said the tax experts should advise them, even the new system is not favorable to Lagos State. John Terry says, BKO, Ibrahim, I greet you. BKO, let me ask this question, which will probably be the final question, because we need to also see how we rest this conversation for further, assessments. Considering the ongoing debate now, what potential compromises or solutions do you think could be proposed to balance the economic needs of the North with the broader goals of the tax reforms? And most importantly, what role should dialogue between regional leaders and federal government play in this process?
I agree that when you want to introduce this kind of bill that is a game changer, you have to consult widely. You have to make sure that you've done your own work very well. Alun Dume is a leader in the National Assembly, and if he can say that the president's bill is dead on arrival because he did not consult widely before pushing the bill to the National Assembly, I cannot sit here and say Alun Dume is wrong. The way northern leaders are pressing against this bill, and the only reason they've cited is the derivation principle that the bill talks about, that the bill seeks to use to distribute VAT revenue in our country. So there may be compromises at the end of the day, because what I do not want to see is the baby being thrown away with the bathwater. We've been in this situation before. If there is a contentious portion of that bill that a good number of the subnationals are not happy about, because I do think that it is not only the North that has reservations about this bill. If there is a portion of that bill that so many of the subnationals are not happy about, then it has to be reworked and for the bill to be represented. When you look at even the student loan bill, it must have been presented up to 3 times. It was reworked, again reworked, The bill was originally authored by Jabia Miller, during the last dispensation. But Mr. President came in and they had to change a number of things, including who should be guarantor for the loans. So I believe that they can still do some work on this tax reform bill in a manner that makes everyone happy, in a manner that makes the contending groups comfortable. The idea that President Tinubu hates the North or is waging a war against the North is not sensible in my view. And the president has to do whatever it takes to dismantle that argument that he hates the North or that he's waging a war against the North. And I know that sometimes this could look like blackmail by the authors of this kind of negative sentiment, but at the same time, it should not be ignored, so that the people are not eventually turned against the president and see him as somebody who is against northern interests. So they need to take a second look at that bill. And I'm sure during the debates, during the public hearing, if it has not been done, people will come up with what they are opposed to about that bill, and it can be reworked. Because when you look at that bill, I can say so many things are good about the bill, you know. So if there's just one portion of the bill that needs to be tinkered with, I don't think it's a bad idea.
That's right. Interesting. So let me take these two comments before we call it around. TG Associates says they can use their revenue agency to collect the VAT in their state instead of public enforcement. It's more like it says, Vicky, God bless you for expatiating on it, or for explaining it to us very well. And now, well, he says he now understands. It's now clear to him. So, Vicky, your final thoughts on this matter. I think you also mentioned the issue of others, saying that some of these VAT, some of the proceeds of this VAT, some of these products that are consumed include alcohol, and the North is expected, supposedly or purportedly, doesn't take alcohol. So why do they have to spend in these proceeds? How do you address this? Whether it's just an unfounded myth, or it's something that we shouldn't, bother ourselves over, as long as we are one Nigeria. Very quickly, we have just less than 4 minutes.
I think that it's a very dicey situation. You cannot say that because people do not consume something, then it should not be used for them. There are many people in northern Nigeria who are resident in northern Nigeria who are alcohol consumers. I lived in Kano. I've not seen anywhere in Nigeria where people consume alcohol as much as they consume it in Sabongeri in Kano. I've not seen anywhere, not even Obalende. The closest to Sabongeri in Kano is Obalende. The setting in Obalende and that of Sabongeri, they are very, very similar. The alcohol consumption in Sabongeri, Kano is tremendous. In front of one building, there could be 4 different beer parlors. One building, 4 beer parlors. So it won't be right to say that, in hiding, there are people who consume it in the open.